Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on Foundations of Deep Learning, Concepts and Applications. In the last session, we had started with convolutional neural networks, where we have learned the fundamentals of image representation. Since for CNN, image is an input, so we have seen the basics of what all different types of images and then how many number of channels that are there. So from the previous session, we have seen the three different possible inputs would be, it can be an color image, or we can even consider a grayscale and binary images, and number of channels for a color image will be 3, and for binary and grayscale the number of channel is 1. And we have also seen why not use a fully connected neural network for an image. So this is primarily due to whenever we are taking an image will be a 2-dimensional or it can be a 3-dimensional one, but for a fully connected neural network we require a data in a single vector. So when we convert 2-dimensional data into a single vector, we will be losing a spatial relationship. So what exactly is the spatial relationship? The positions of pixel values. So we will be losing it. That is the reason why fully connected neural network cannot be used for an image. And then we have also explored different data augmentation techniques. So why exactly this is required and what is data augmentation techniques? This is a technique which is artificially we are increasing the samples of training a data set. Now what all different techniques that are there? We have seen that it can be, first we are rescaling, where we are reducing the pixels values from 0 to 255 to 0 to 1. We are also rotating, and then there is a flip, horizontal flip, a vertical flip, and then we have shifting. And under shifting, it can be an width shift or it can be an height shift. We have also seen something called as shear range and zoom. And towards the end of the session, previous session, we have seen how to load and store the images basically for an implementation in Keras. This is all what we have seen in the previous session. With that, today let us see that what is the biological inspiration behind the development of CNN, which is an human visual system. If you remember, if you recall, for development of a perceptron, we require a biological neural system. Biological neural system was an inspiration for the development of a perceptron. So similar way, for the development of a CNN, what is the inspiration behind? So the inspiration is our human visual system. So we will be exploring this, how human visual system is inspiration for the development, and then we will see an introduction to CNN. We'll look into what are the different key components of CNN, and the key components includes, we have a convolutional layer, we have a pooling layer, then we have a fully connected layer. In this session, we will see the convolutional neural convolutional layer in detail. The very first layer in CNN, convolutional layer, we will look into in detail in this particular session. So let's get started. So the very first, let us try to understand what is the biological inspiration. So we have seen that the biological inspiration is our human visual system. So when you look into this diagram, we have our human eye, and that is connected to our brain. So let us try to understand how exactly our human visual system works, and then let us try to connect this to CNN. So from the human eye, we are going to visualize an image. We are going to see one image. So whatever the image that we see, the image information will be first passed to V1. So what exactly is V1? V1 is a primary visual cortex. And what is this V1 primarily responsible for? It is responsible for detecting the basic visual features. So whenever we look into any image, the very first our human eye is going to detect the edges and the lines, and these acts as the lowest level of features. So, the very first, when we look into the images, we will first extract the edges and then lines. Let us take an example. Let us see, when we are recognizing a face, we have an human being in front of us. When we look into the human being, the very first thing that we see is we get the contour of eyes, the mouth, or it can be a face outline. So, what exactly is contour? It is an outlines. So, this is the first information we extract when we look into an images. So, let me clear the screen in order to go to the next. So, once we extract the basic features, the next we have V2 and V4. Together V2 and V4. What is this V2 and V4 responsible for? V2 we call it as an secondary visual area, and then V4 we call it as an tertiary. What exactly is V2 responsible for? V2 combines whatever the low level features that are extracted from V1, V2 is going to combine that, and once it combines, it forms the shapes. So, V2 is primarily responsible to form the shapes. Now, once the shapes are formed, what does V4 does? V4 detects the colors, and then it integrates different shapes which are being combined, and then it forms an object. So, V2 is responsible for shapes and V4 is responsible for objects. So, with an example, continuing our example, if V1 extracts the contour of eyes, mouth, and then outline, face outline, then V2 forms the shapes. So, from eye it forms the circles, then for it forms the curves, and then for the nose it forms the lines. So, this is all the V2 is responsible. It forms the shapes. So, from a circle it detects that it is an eye, then from the curves it is the mouth, and from the lines it is the nose. This is what is the responsible of V2. V2 combines the basic visual information, that is edges, lines, all these will be combined to form a shape. Then V4 is responsible for all the shapes have been combined so that you can able to identify an object. So, now with this V4 will be able to say that it is a face, it is a human face. And the last what we have is IT. What is IT? IT is inferotemporal cortex. What is IT responsible for? This is an high level visual area which is mainly responsible for recognizing what exactly is that particular object. So, it is responsible for recognizing the faces and face, and this is the final stage of visual recognition, which is an IT. So, in our example, this is a specific it is a face of our friend, it is a face of a particular person. So, this is how the human visual system works. It first starts with a low level representation, low level feature extraction. It first starts with a low level feature extraction to it goes to a high level feature extractions. This is an working mechanism of a human visual system. So, thus if you are going to map it to our CNN, convolutional neural network, V1 work is done by early convolutional layers, and V2 is responsible. V2 is done by an intermediate convolutional layers. V4 is done by deeper convolutional layers, and the last IT is responsible of fully connected layer of CNN. So, if you look into this entire function, CNN is exactly a replica of our biological hierarchy only, where we first extract the edges, that is basic information, and then we go into an fully object recognition. So, the hierarchy is it starts from V1 and it goes till IT, where V1 is responsible for low level feature extraction and IT is responsible for high level feature extraction. So, this is what is the biological inspiration behind the development of CNN, where it starts extracting from low level features and it move to an high level features. So with this, let us quickly look into what exactly is an introduction to CNN. What is CNN is all about? CNN is an specialized deep learning model. So where the input that we are going to pass to CNN is images. So whenever we want to process the data, and if that data is an image, then primarily we will be using CNN as our model, and CNN is a specialized deep learning model. And using CNN, what all problem statements or what all applications we can solve. Basically, it is used for computer vision task, where if at all if you want to classify an image, then we go for CNN. For example, we have a set of images, we have a set of benign images, we have set of malignancy images. If you take an cancerous detection, tumor classification, a given image, whether it belongs to benign category or whether it belongs to an malignancy category, where we are working on image. Then we go for this is what is image classification, we will be using CNN. Object detection. The second application is we can use a CNN for an object detection. What is object detection? Now in our class we want to identify where there is an podium, where there is an class board, where there is an benches, where there are a set of students. So we want to identify an object in a particular image. Then we will be using an CNN for this particular application. And next we also use CNN for an image segmentation. What exactly is the image segmentation? Now in order to identify a particular image is a benign or a malignancy, we just need to focus only on a tumor region. So we will first segment only a particular lesion of interest, and then we process further. So for such application we call it as an image segmentation, and then we will be once again using CNN only. So CNN is an specialized deep learning model which is primarily designed for computer vision tasks, where input is an image. And it exactly mimics the human visual system, where first it focuses on local regions first, where it detects lines, edges, corners. So if you look into this, the early layers of CNN output will be something like this, where you can able to see that there are different lines, diagonal lines, horizontal lines, vertical lines, some curves. It is all this information it is going to extract. Gradually, as we go deeper into the architecture, we will be able to recognize the whole image through multiple layers. So as you go deeper into the architecture, we will be able to visualize the complete object. So we can see here this is E, and we can able to say that it is A and C. So we can able to, this is an human eye. So we will be able to extract the complete image. This is what is a basic introduction to CNN. Let's move into the most important, what are the key different components of convolutional neural network. So the very first, of course, we require an input, and here the input you can work on a colored image which is an RGB, or you can work on grayscale image, or you can consider an binary image. So we will have three different possible inputs that one can consider. So the very first component what we have is we will have a convolutional layer. This is the first component, and second we have an activation function, and the third component we have an pooling layer. Fourth component we have a fully connected layer, and of course towards the end we are going to get the output. So these are the key components. Along with that, we also have an optional, we can go for regularization techniques. We can also include regularization layers. It can be a normalization layer, or we can even include an dropout. So these are the primary and the secondary components of CNN. So with this, let's get into the very first component called convolutional neural network. Now, I want you to look into this image, the left image first. Now, when I ask you this question, what exactly is this image, you will look into this image multiple times, and then you can able to say that I think this is an elephant. Now, how is that you will be able to identify that it is an elephant? One will probably look into this part, then probably you will be looking into this part of the image, then you will see this overall shape. Then you will combine all of these features, and then you can able to say that it is an elephant. Similar way, when you look into this image, so we can say that it is a kangaroo. Now, how do we say that it is an kangaroo animal? So, you can see that its tail, by looking at the shape of the tail, then by looking its legs, and then by looking into this particular part. So, and similar way, when we look into the next image, look into this image. Now, here for the first time when you see, you will be seeing that probably it is an branch where we have leaves. But when we go deeper, when we look into this image again and again, we will be able to identify that there is an animal here, there is a chameleon which is there here. So, I think you are able to understand how our human visual system works. So, first it will start extracting the basic information, which is lines, edges, corners, and then from there you will be able to form the shapes. From then you will be able to tell the object, and then you will able to say that probably this is an chameleon. So, similar way, if you look into this particular, you will say that it is a very old tree. But when you look deeper into, again and again when you able to see, you will see that there is an owl here. Okay. So, with this example, let us try to understand what exactly is a convolutional layer. So, by now you will be able to, I think you would have got the concept. What exactly is a convolutional layer? This is the first and then the fundamental block of CNN, where primarily it focuses on extracting the features. So, if somebody asks what exactly is convolutional layer, it is primarily responsible for extracting the features. Now, how when an image is placed in front of us, how human eye is going through that entire image, and you are extracting the features. So, similar way, we need to give one eye to a CNN model. What is that eye here? That eye we call it as a kernel, or it can be a filter. So, what exactly convolutional layer? Convolutional layer is primarily responsible for extracting the features. From where do we extract the features? We extract the features from our input image. We have an input image given here. From this input image, we want to extract the features. If at all, if you want to extract the features, how our human eye is going through this entire image? Our eye is going through this entire image, and then we are extracting the features. So, that eye here is a kernel. So, what this kernel will do? The kernel will go through this entire, will slide through the entire image and input image, and when it is going through the entire image, it is going to perform a convolution operation. What is convolution operation? It is one mathematical operation that it performs, where it is going to do an element wise multiplication, and it performs the summation. So, by end of, like how when a human eye is when it sees an image, how it extracts the features, here the feature that it has extracted, we call it as a feature map. So, when you look into this particular image, we have extracted certain features, and from how did we extracted these features? These features are extracted from the original input image. And how did we extracted, what helped you to extract the features? It is the kernel. And what you are going to do with the kernel? Take the kernel, slide the kernel through the entire input image, perform a convolution operation, and get the feature map. So, this is a theoretical explanation. Let us try to understand that with an example. However, you will be seeing a detailed example going forward, but let us try to understand what is this convolution operation, what is this element wise multiplication and summation. This part let us try to understand. From our previous session, we have understood that whenever we consider an input image, a system reads an input image as a matrix of pixel values. For example, let us consider we have one image, and this is an binary image where we have the value either 0 and we have a value 0 and 1. So, now we are going to, this is an input image. We have an input image which is represented in the form of a matrix of pixels. We are going to consider this a kernel. Now, what this kernel will do? Kernel, since this is an matrix, so whenever you consider an kernel also should be a matrix. So, here we are considering a matrix of size 3 cross 3. Now, this 3 cross 3, place it onto this input image. So, when it is a 3 cross 3, obviously it is going to cover 3 cross 3 part of input image. That is what is this. This is a 3 cross 3 of input image, so which is been written here. So, now you are going to do an element wise multiplication. What is the meaning of element wise multiplication? This and this with this with this. Similar way, this element with this element with this. So, this is what is element wise multiplication. So, what exactly is the theoretical concept? So, convolutional layer is primarily responsible for extracting the features from where? From an input image by applying the kernel. Now, if you ask what exactly it is a kernel, kernel is an learnable, here it is an learnable matrix. Whatever the kernel that you are considering, over a period of time you are going to learn the values. In the back propagation, we are going to learn these values. Initially, we are randomly assigning some values to this, but over a period of time through back propagation, we are going to update these. We will see that little later. So, let us take an example. So, here we have an input image which is 6 cross 6, and we have considered a kernel 3 cross 3. Now, what exactly is convolutional operation here? Now, we will consider 3 cross 3 matrix of input, and then we perform an convolution operation. What is convolution operation? It is an element wise multiplication. How do we perform? We have 3 into 1, this 3 multiplied with 1. So, similar way we have 1 multiplied with 1. Then we have this 2 multiplied with this 1. So, 2 getting multiplied. Then we have 0 multiplied with 0. This 0 getting multiplied with this 0. Similar way we have 5 multiplied with this 0. 7 multiplied with 0. Then 1 multiplied with minus 1. 8 multiplied with minus 1 and 2 getting multiplied with minus 1. So, this is what is the, and then summation. So, multiply and then add all these values, you get minus 5. So, place this. Then once you complete, have you extracted all the features from the image? The answer is no, because you have just looked into only this part of the image. We have looked into only the top left corner of the image. So, now what we will do? We have to look into the entire image. If you have to look into the entire image, what we are going to do? We are, this is the convolution which performs multiplication and summation, and next we are going to slide it. So, when you slide, you are going to see the next part of the image. So, now what we are considering? We are considering this part of the image. So, again we perform the same operation, element wise multiplication and summation, where 0 gets multiplied with 1 and 5 gets multiplied with 1 and 7 gets multiplied with 1. Now, what is this? This is the first element of this gets multiplied, the second element of this is multiplied, and the third element of this is getting multiplied. Similar way, we have this 1 getting multiplied with 0, then we have 8 multiplied with 0, then we have 2 getting multiplied with 0. So, we have the second elements with this part of the elements. Then we have the third one, 2 getting multiplied with minus 1, then we have 9 getting multiplied with minus 1, and we have 5 getting multiplied with minus 1. The third elements with this. So, this is what is a pointwise multiplication, and we get the answer -4 and place this -4 here. Likewise, you have to slide through the entire image. Next, we are considering this part of the input image, and then we repeat the same operation and we get this result. Then we go for this part of, we slide, we now consider this part of the image, and then we perform the same multiplication, element wise multiplication summation, we get this result. Once you complete, you have completed this part of an image, we have completed this part of the image, but we have even next to this also. So, what we are going to do, we have to slide it down. How is that we slide it down? We slide here. We now slide this part of the image. So, now again we perform the same element wise multiplication, summation, and then we get this result. We continue the whole, continue the steps. Finally, we reach to this part of an image, and then we perform the element wise multiplication and we get this result. So, ultimately whatever we have done, whatever is the matrix that we have got, we call this as an feature map. The technical word here is it is a feature map. Now, diagrammatically, if I have to give you one example, look at this example. We have an input image, and this input image, when it is applied on this kernel, the output what we are going to get is this. So, here we have an input image. When input image is getting multiplied with the kernel, we get this output. Can you able to see how we have an input image and how we got this output? It has extracted some features. So, what features it has extracted? It has extracted some horizontal portion of an input image. Now, if I okay, let us look into this example. Now, when an image has gone through, when you pass the kernel onto this entire image, it has extracted some features. Now, I want to extract more features. Can I pass the same kernel again through the entire image? The answer is no, because now the same kernel, whatever the kernel that we have considered here, the same kernel, when you pass through the entire image, again what mathematical, by doing the same mathematical operation, the values what you get is this only. We are not going to get a different values. So, we are not going to extract different features. So, now in order to extract different features, we will now take a different kernel. So, you see that example here. Here we have now considered a different kernel. When we have considered a different kernel, and when this kernel will go through this entire image, it has extracted the different feature. Earlier, what feature it has extracted? Earlier, this was the kernel, and these are the features it has extracted. Now, you have changed the kernel to this, and the feature it has extracted is this. So, put together by combining this features, by combining this feature and this features, I can able to recognize that probably it is an hand written digit 4. So, this is what is a convolution operation. So, let us get into little math behind this convolution. So, you have an input image which is of size 6 cross 6, which we denote it as n cross n. We have an filter of size 3 cross 3, and we are representing it with f cross f. Now, when an input image and when we have a kernel, when this kernel is going through the entire, we are going to get this feature map. Now, we want to understand what will be the size of this feature map. What will be the size if you have this input and this filter. So, we want to understand what is this size. Here the size is 4 cross 4. Now, let us understand the math. Why did we get this 4 cross 4? How did we get this 4 cross 4? So, the mathematical formula what we have is, this is the mathematical formula. It is n minus f plus 1 into n minus f plus 1. Actually, the formula is n minus f by s plus 1. This is the formula. But what is this S? S stands for a stride. Now, what is a stride? If initially if you are considering this part of an image, then for the after once you complete the operation, probably we will be now considering, you will slide and you will consider this part of the image. So, this is what is the stride, and here since the stride what we have considered is 1, so denominator if it is 1, then we need not have to consider that part. So, because of this, the formula, since denominator this is S is 1, the formula will be just n minus f plus 1. That is what is this formula, n minus f plus 1 and n minus f plus 1. Now, if you substitute the values into this, n value here is 6, f value here is 3 plus 1. So, 6 minus 3 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4. Similar way, this is for height and this is for width. So, this is for height and this is for width. So, what is the width? Once again it is n minus f plus 1. So, 6 minus 3 plus 1. So, whatever we have got this 4 cross 4 matrix. So, what is the math behind the this is an important formula. It is n minus f by s plus 1. S stands for stride. Since here the stride what we have considered is 1, the formula is n minus f plus 1. Now, if you look into this entire operation, the input size here is 6 cross 6. Now, by performing this convolution operation, the output what we have got is 4 cross 4. Now, immediate question what will come to your mind is it not we lost some information? Now, in an image, every in the image, every pixel acts as an feature. Every pixel will carry some information. Now, probably if you consider an biological application, medical application, what if there is a tumor which is present in this portion of an image? Suppose there is an ovarian scan and there is a tumor which is present in the top left. So, by doing this operation from 6 cross 6 we have reduced to 4 cross 4, which means we have lost some information. So, correct. So, we have lost some information. So, how do we avoid this? I do not want to lose any information. So, the solution for this is padding. So, we will be applying a padding, and then let us now see what exactly is padding. So, what we have understood, so during a convolution operation, the size of the output feature mainly is determined by what? Mainly depends on an input, it depends on the kernel. By doing this, what we are going to get is the feature map, and the size of this feature map what we have got is 4 cross 4. And when we look into this, how did we get this? This kernel, whatever the kernel that we have taken, this kernel is applied on an input image, and then you are performing a convolution operation. By doing, and then you are striding, when you stride you go to this part and then you get the next value, then you stride you get this value, again you stride you get this value. So, like this you are going to do this entire operation, and finally we are getting a feature map. But when we look into this feature map, the size of this feature map has reduced. So, if you look into this is smaller than the input, the feature map is definitely smaller than the input. Now, which means definitely we have lost the information. When we have lost the information, now the question is which information is lost? The information that we have lost is the border information is lost. Now, let us try to understand how did we lose the border information. For that, I am going back to the previous slide where we have seen the example of convolution layer. So, let us take this particular example. Now, if you see the very first the part of the input that we are considering is this 3 cross 3. In this 3 cross 3, definitely this leftmost pixel carries some information, and we have information in every of these pixel values. Now, once we complete this operation, what we are going to do? We are going to stride, So, when we stride, is it not we are going to look into this part of the image. So, we are now looking into this part of the image. So, now let me take you back. Here we are seeing this whole image. Now, when we look into this, we are looking into this part of the image, which means earlier this part we are now seeing. Can you see here? We are seeing this information again, and then we are also seeing this part of the information again, but this part we did not see for the second time. Okay, fine. Now, let us continue. If you slide it again, let us slide this. If you slide, we are now looking into this part of the information. In this part, again we are seeing this 8 and 2, which you had seen earlier. We are seeing this part of the information again. When you stride, we are going to get this part. We are looking into this part of the information. Now, once you complete this, you will stride down. When you stride down, you are going to get this part. You are now going to get this part of the image. Now, if you look into this very carefully, this corner information 3, observe this carefully, this 3 is something that we have seen only once. When did we see this 3? When we had considered this part of the image, when we considered this part, only then we had looked at that 3. After that, never we had seen that 3 again. So, if you scroll through the entire, finally we will come to this part of the image, but that 3 is lost. The information 3 we have never looked into. So, if you see the padding, what exactly is this? Whatever the information we are losing the border information, like how we have taken 3, similar way all the borders we are going to see only once. So, that part of the information is not being extracted much. So, the border information is lost. If the original input is of size 6 cross 6, if the feature map what you have got is 4 cross 4, definitely we have lost the information. And which information we have lost? We have lost the border information. Now, I do not want to lose the border information. I want to even consider that border also. Then what is the solution? The solution is a padding. What exactly is a padding? This is padding, where we apply 0, we write zeros in all of the borders. Now, if you consider, let us take the same example. Earlier we had 3 here. Now, if you take the first 3 cross 3, the first 3 cross 3 will be now this. When you take this first 3 cross 3, we are seeing 3, we are seeing this information one time. Now, when you slide this, you are going to, let us take this 3, when you slide now, you are going to have this part. Is it not you are seeing this 3 for the second time? Answer is yes. Then again when you slide, you will go through, you will go to this, and then you will complete the entire process. When you come down, you will again consider this part. Now, when you consider this part, is it not you are looking into 3 again? Again when you stride, you will get this part. Here again we are looking into this 3. So, this is the advantage of applying padding, which will retain even the border information also. So, the original input size was 6 cross 6. By performing this operation, the feature map what we got was 4 cross 4 here. Now, by doing this padding, let us see how the size is retained. Now, this is the original input. For this we have applied padding, we got this size now. For this, when we apply a kernel which is a 3 cross 3 kernel, the output what we are getting, if you look into the slide here, the output what we have got is a 6 cross 6. We have retained back the shape. Original was a 6 cross 6. For this 6 cross 6 we have added the padding, that is 0 is been added. By performing the convolution operation we have retained the shape of original input. So, what is the advantage of a padding? Padding is going to preserve the boundary information. How? By adding zeros around the input, and then we are performing the convolution operation and we are retaining the shape. If that is the case, what is the mathematical formula? The mathematical formula I am going to write here once again. The mathematical formula is, earlier we had seen it is n minus f plus 1. So, this was for the height and this is n minus f plus 1, this is for the width. But now we are considering a padding concept. So, if we are considering a padding, there has to be one additional term also to this formula. That additional term is n minus f plus 2p padding, then plus 1. Similar way, it is n minus f plus 2p plus 1. So, this is the formula. I have rearranged the terms. It is n plus 2p minus f plus 1, n plus 2p minus f plus 1. So, let us substitute the values. What is n value? N value is 6. Let us substitute the values in this formula. N minus, what is f value? F value is, if you consider here, f value is 3, plus we have 2 into, what is p? We have applied one layer of padding. So, it is 1 plus 1. So, 6 minus 3 is 3 plus 2 plus 1 is totally 6. So, we got 6. This is with respect to height. So, once again substitute the values. N value is 6, filter is 3, plus we have applied one padding and then 1. So, which we get once again 6. So, what size we have got is 6 cross 6. So, padding is going to preserve the boundaries and it is going to retain the size of the input. So, this is what is the concept called padding. So, when we go for a practical implementation, we see two terms. So, one we call it as valid and the second we call it as same. What is valid? Valid is where there is no padding that is applied. When there is no padding, then the formula is just a basic n minus f plus 1, where no padding is applied to an input image. Now, when there is no padding applied, definitely the feature map size has reduced. So, that is okay to us. Even if we lose some information, it is fine. If you are going for such kind of an application where it is okay to lose some information, then when we are writing and when we are building an CNN model, you need not have to apply padding during convolution operation. Second, no, I do not want to lose the information. Some critical applications like medical applications where even the borders may also have some information. We do not want to lose any information. Then it is compulsory to apply padding. So, when you have to apply padding, how do we write practically? We write padding equal to same. So, when we apply padding, then backend the convolution layer will apply this particular formula to get its feature map. So, in Keras, how do we write this? So, what operation we are performing? We are performing the convolution operation. Now, what is this by now you are very familiarized. If at all if you want to perform a convolution operation, you require an input. So, when you consider an input will have the height, width and the number of channels. So, if you write here 1, it indicates either you are working on a grayscale or you are working on binary image. So, this 64 indicates it is the dimension, the height and width of an image. So, this is the input that we consider. So, which will have 64 height, 64 width and the channel here is 1 indicates either gray or binary. Then 3 cross 3 indicates we are applying an kernel of size 3 cross 3. Okay, that is the meaning of this 3 cross 3. And this 32, what does this 32 indicates? 32 such different kernels we are considering. Why 32 such different kernels we have to consider? Why not just consider one kernel? If you consider only one kernel and if you perform the convolution operation, it is going to extract some information. Now, what information it has extracted, probably we may not be able to visualize it. It has extracted some features. Now, if you want to extract more and different features, can I apply the same kernel? If you apply the same kernel, mathematically the values remained the same, then it is the same features it will extract again and again. That is not practically correct. So, by applying different kernels, different features are extracted. So, diagrammatically if you have to represent, look at this, we have an input image, you will apply one kernel, you will get one feature map. You apply second kernel, you get a different feature map. You apply third kernel, you get a different feature map. Like this, if you apply totally 32 different kernels, we get different feature maps, we will obtain a different feature maps. That is the meaning of this 32. Is it compulsory that we should use 32? It is an hyperparameter. The meaning hyperparameter is you can fine tune it. Is it compulsory that you should use a 3 cross 3 kernel? Answer is no. It is once again an hyperparameter. You can go with a different kernel. You can apply 5 cross 5, you can apply 7 cross 7. We will see that in a while. So, this is what and when you write padding equal to valid, the meaning of this is I am not applying any padding for this particular operation. For the given input, there is no zeros that is been added. If it is not been added, definitely now this convolution operation knows that I will be now performing the convolution operation. I get the feature maps, but these feature maps values will be the feature map size will be less than the input size. No, we do not want to lose it, we want to retain the shape, then we have to apply padding equal to same. When you write padding equal to same, whatever is the original input, the same input size will be retained for the feature map. So, practically we will be writing padding equal to valid, which means no padding is applied, padding equal to same, which means there is a padding that is being applied. Now, is it compulsory that always when we write padding equal to, is it compulsory that only one layer, so if you go back, there is it that I have to apply only one layer on top, bottom, left and right? Answer is no, we can apply even 2 layers also, then you will be writing a code like this. 0 padding 2D, when you write 2 comma 2, it means top 2 rows and 2 columns. You will be adding 2 rows of 0 padding and then 2 columns of 0 padding. Then this is how you will be implementing in Keras. And the last topic for today's session is stride. The next important concept when you are performing a convolution operation, convolutional layer, for a convolutional layer is stride. What exactly is a stride? Now you know this is the input, 7 cross 7 is an input, this is the kernel. By performing the convolution operation, we are going to get a feature map, and that feature map size here is a 5 cross 5. Now, what exactly is a stride? This is the first, right, because you have considered 3 cross 3. When you have considered 3 cross 3, this is the 3 cross 3 part of input. Now, once you complete, you are going to do a stride. So, here what is the stride that you have fixed? The stride that you have fixed is 1. Why? What is 1 here? Can you able to see? After this, when you stride, you considered the next 3 cross 3. So, the stride is 1. So, what exactly is a stride? It is an hyperparameter which basically controls how the filter will move over the input. This is the filter 3 cross 3. How this filter will move over this input is what is the stride. So, it is an hyperparameter. Okay. If this is the case, what will be the size of the feature map? So, because the stride is also considered, and if there is a padding that you are applying, the formula is something like this. It is n plus 2p minus f divided by s plus 1. This is what is the formula. This is for the height and this is for the width. So, let us substitute the values in this and then see how did we get this phi cross phi. So, if you see here, 7 input is n is 7. So, we have applied 7 and there is no padding that is applied. So, padding will be 0 when there is no p value is 0. So, 2 into 0 is 0 and minus f value is 3 minus 3. Since the stride value is 1 divided by 1 plus 1. So, if you calculate this entire, we are going to get the value 7 minus 3, it is 4 and plus 1, we get the value 5. A similar way for the width, it is 5. So, the size what we got is 5 cross 5. So, if at all, if we apply some padding here, then accordingly you will get the value 1. Then you will have the calculations. So, if there is no padding, then p value will be 0. If there is a padding that you have applied, then accordingly substitute p value as 1. Now, is it compulsory that always the stride should be 1? The answer is no. You can even have the stride value here. So, look into this. We are considering the stride value the 2. So, what is 2? Now, can you able to observe from here, earlier it was this. Now, when you move, you have left 2 columns and then you have stride. So, because of this, here s is equal to 2. When s is equal to 2, see how it is going to have an impact. So, you are going to get the output size as 3 cross 3. How is that we are going to get an output size 3 cross 3? Go back and then substitute the values. It is 7, input size is 7. There is no padding that is applied. Filter size that is applied is 3, but this time the stride is 2 and plus 1. So, it is 4 by 2 plus 1, which is 2 plus 1 is 3. So, that is what is the first 3. This is height, and similar way when you do 7 plus 0 minus 3 by 2 plus 1 will be 2 plus 1 is 3, which is width, which is this 3 cross 3. Okay. So, this is what we are seeing, but you can immediately ask one, you would have got one question to your mind, and that question is, look at this particular formula. Suppose you have taken some size, you have taken some input size, some filter size, you have applied padding, but by performing this calculation, what if you would have got some decimal value? Quite possible, because when you do divided by stride, if the stride when you do a division, and if not the stride as 1, if the stride is some other value 2 and more, definitely when you do a division, you are going to get a floating point. For some input values, you may get a floating point. If you get a float point, then what should be the feature map size? We are going to consider, this is not a square bracket, it is called a floor. So, what exactly is a floor? Suppose by performing some calculation, if you have got 3.5, 3.1, 3.9, you will ultimately round it off to 3. So, what exactly is a floor? It will always consider the greatest integer less than or equal to the given number. So, for 3.5, the greatest integer which is less than or equal to 3.5 is 3 only. So, this is how the stride works, and how is that you are going to practically write the stride concept in Keras. So, for stride, you are going to write it as stride here. In the you will be writing a stride, and let us not talk about the activation. I will come back to activation little later. Since in the previous slide we have also seen, you will be passing the input underscore shape. you will be passing 64, 64, 1. So, you will also have an input. So, here the focus is only on stride part. If at all, if you are considering a stride, how to write that stride in Keras. Stride 2 cross 2 indicates you are stride equal to 2. You are leaving 2 columns and then you are moving. You will leave 2 rows and then come down. So, when you take a stride, for the next time when you look into, for the next time you will consider this part of the image. You will leave out these 2 and then consider this part. So, that is what is a stride equal to 2. So, padding equal to same, what does it indicates? You are applying a padding. Padding equal to valid indicates you are not applying padding. Now, if you look into this part of the code, if you consider this part of the code, there is no stride that is written. If the stride is not mentioned, then the stride value will be 1. By default, the stride value will be 1. There is one important concept that you should remember here. Why is it compulsory that the stride should be always an same number? Is it that 2 cross 2, 1 cross 1? Is it always that I should write same values here? Can I write something like this? Stride 2 comma 3, can we write in this way? In when do we have to go for this kind of an, here what is the input size that we have taken? Input what we have considered is 64, 1. This is what is the input that we have considered, which means the height and width of the dimension of height and width are same. But there can be some input where the aspect ratio is different. What if you have an height as 128 and width as 256, which is I can consider it as a rectangular image. It is not a square image, it is a rectangular image. Whenever you have a rectangular kind of an image, when this is an input size that you are considering, obviously the feature map what you should get is also a rectangular one only. In that case, instead of going for a stride of this, you will be writing a stride as 2 comma 3. I am just giving one example here, not necessarily 2 comma 3, but you need to understand it will not be 2 2, because you will ultimately end up in getting a square one. But if our aim is to get a rectangular, then the slide should be something of this nature, 2 comma 3, where 2 is it moved 2 down and 3 right. So, this is what is the stride. So, with this we have come to an end of this particular session, where we have started with biological inspiration. What is the biological inspiration for the development of CNN, which is an human visual system. Human visual system is mainly responsible for the development of convolutional layer. We have seen the different key building blocks of CNN. We have looked into convolutional layer. In this session, we have explored convolutional layer in detail, and we have looked into the concepts called padding and then stride. What is the role of padding and what is the role of stride we have explored. Overall, this particular session has laid a strong foundation for understanding the feature extractions in CNN and how a convolution operation has to be performed. And the what we have considered is, we have considered an grayscale or an binary image. We have not explored the RGB one. This will be our point of discussion for the next session. In the next session, we will see how a convolution can be applied to an RGB images, where it will have multiple channels. For an RGB, we know that number of channels are 3. So, we will be looking at this, and then we will also explore the further layers in CNN. Further components, that is activation function ReLU, we will look into pooling and then the flattened layer. So, that is all for this particular session. Thank you.